Erin Sandilands. She's just been awarded £3,500 after she won a sexual discrimination claim against her employers. Alongside her is Laura Bates from the Everyday Sexism Project and author of Girl Up. Very good morning to you both. Erin, you won the money because you were asked to do what?
I was asked to be a little bit more feminine with my appearance when I was at work, to look better for the punters.
So you're working in a restaurant as a waitress. Initially, they'd said what was the uniform? It
was a skirt or trousers. I was given the choice, and I went for trousers, like just due to practicality, and was then penalised for that, and asked if I could wear a skirt because it was more feminine.
And when you say you were penalised for that, you were simply asked to wear a skirt, or something else was threatened?
I was told that wearing a skirt was more feminine, and they wanted me to look better because it was better for the punters who were coming into the restaurant at the time.
Were you worried about losing work?
Yeah, I was worried about losing my job if I wasn't going to wear what they wanted me to wear, but I didn't think that was okay, which is why I defended myself.
Laura, why is this different to a man being told he needs to smarten up or wear a tie or polish his shoes?
It's thrown at Jeremy Corbyn, isn't it, all the time?
And Donald Trump gets criticised for his appearance. You know, men are not immune to these criticisms.
No, they're not, and I think it's absolutely wrong if a man is being told you need to look sexy for the customers in a job where, you know, he's just there doing his job and it's nothing to do with his job description, then that, of course that's wrong as well. No one's saying it's not. But this is something that disproportionately impacts on women. When you mentioned some politicians there, I mean, it is true that we do hear comments about male politicians' appearance, but those articles tend to be few and far between, and they don't tend to come at very critical moments in their careers. Whereas when Nicola Sturgeon took over as First Minister, for example, on the front page of the papers that day, they talked about her frumpy outfits and her sleek fashion transformation. So I think it is different in terms of the severity and the frequency. But of course, it's bad if it happens to anyone. But we receive thousands of stories from women, and particularly young women, particularly on 0 hours contracts, about these kinds of experiences. It's incredibly common.
Those editorials you're talking about Nicola Sturgeon particularly, but some of those, were they written by men or were they written by women?
I think it's absolutely something that happens from both sides. It does get written by women as well. It's, you know, this isn't about setting up men against women. It's not about a battle of the sexes.
Men, certainly I am very conscious, and we are very conscious in this environment, not to be saying things that could be considered to be sexist, and would be more careful, whereas women, as I know, can be very critical of other women. I'm sure you're nodding along as well. No, I'm not. I'm merely gesturing. But the women can be critical. They are.
It can come from both sides, definitely. But I think it's a bit of a red herring. You do hear this kind of, oh, women are each other's worst enemies things. But actually, if you look at the majority of the stories that we're receiving, when they pertain directly to workplace discrimination and harassment, it does still tend to be a majority of male perpetrators, and often someone in a position of power who says, you know, you have to wear a lower cut top for the clients, or you should be wearing higher heels to give us a bit of eye candy. And often the person who's the victim in that situation fears losing their job, which is why it's so important that someone like Erin has stood up and spoken out about this and won her case to really show that actually it is unacceptable. There's no place for it in the workplace today.
Erin, sorry, but Erin, when you were wearing the trousers and your hair up and sort of more low-key makeup, how would you have described your appearance?
I would say I was well presented. I was clean, I was tidy, I looked smart. I just wasn't dolled up because I didn't see why I should be if I was just at work. I was practical. I was, as long as I was presentable, then that was okay.
Well, I think that's, I mean, you know, absolutely right, and you won the discrimination claim, didn't you? But I think, you know, as Ben points out, it's a really tricky issue, and actually, you know, men do find themselves in a situation, you know, and they say quite often, you know, look, women wear these colourful clothes, they wear these clothes which make them look great. At what point are you know, men say, are we allowed to say that you look great, or we're allowed to request that you wear that sort of outfit at work without being accused of sexism?
Navigating it is very difficult.
Well, I think that the majority of people know the difference between something which is sexual harassment, which explicitly comments on someone's body or talks about whether you find them sexy, whether they're attracting customers, whether they're being sexually attractive, compared to a compliment. No one is saying you can't say to someone, oh, you look nice today.
I'd rather if you wore a colourful dress, like you did yesterday.
Well, I think that probably it all comes down to intent and reasoning. So you've mentioned smartness, and of course people have the right to say you should look smart in the workplace, but there's a world of difference between what Erin experienced, which was explicitly being told you need to look sexy for the customers. And I think really perhaps for me it comes down to what it has to do with your performance. If it's completely irrelevant to your ability to do your job, then why should you be having to be told that your appearance is more important than your performance?
Okay. Erin, thank you very much for coming in and sharing your story with us, and also Laura, it's good to see you this morning as well. Thank you.
Actually, a lot of people say, don't spoil anything for me. Yeah, it's changed now where people are like, don't say anything. I wouldn't anyway. I'm sort of well trained in sort of keeping very stum about everything. It's almost like, what can I say? Oh no, that is okay. That bit's aired.
Now, it's a rather different character you play in Upstart Crow, where you're much cleaner.